everyone, this is Grandmaster Victor Mikhalevski for onlinechesslessons.net. In this first DVD, I would like to talk about initiative in the chess game. What is initiative in the chess game? In fact, this term is kind of difficult to explain in words. And so what I'm gonna do is I'll show you a few examples and demonstrate what the initiative is. And my first example is the game I played against Grandmaster Finkel from Israel in the Dov Porat Memorial 1997. First of all, let me tell you a short history. Right before the game, Finkel offered me a draw, since he was my friend, but I was really in the fighting mood, and so we're gonna see what happened in that game. So everyone started like this: knight f3. And this was the first surprise for my opponent, because in most of my previous games I played d4. Of course he knew it, and so he played c5 with the point to prevent d2, d4. And now, since I know that Alex is not playing the Sicilian with black, I played e4. And it's funny enough, after two moves, we have a position which none of us ever played in the classical games. So Alex continued with e6, knight c3, a6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen c7, bishop d3. This is just one of the possible options in this position. There are also many others. Alex played knight f6. Again, not the only move in the position. Short castle, b5. So now we have reached the first critical moment of the game. In fact, my theoretical knowledge in this position was very limited, since I've explained earlier, I've never played Sicilian with white. And so I started to think on my own. What I could see here is that the diagonal a8, h1 is kind of weak. And so my idea was to try and take advantage of this fact. And so I came with a very interesting pawn sacrifice, which you can maybe think about for some time. But I'll go further and show you that the move is e5. The point is, as I explained, is to open the diagonal. And my next move is going to be queen f3, attacking the rook on a8. So this is the first step on developing initiative. As you can see, most of the black pieces are still in their initial positions. At the same time, most of the white pieces are already out, and so white has a clear development advantage. And so I thought this is a time to exploit my development advantage and develop initiative. So after e5, black has no choice but to accept the sacrifice. Queen takes e5. I played queen f3. As you can see, the queen is attacking the rook on a8. The rook is hanging now, and so black has to play d5. Not so much choice in this position. For instance, if black wants to move his rook to a7, which would be a dubious move, I can play bishop f4, and if black captures the knight, the bishop comes back to e3 with a double attack on d4 and a7. In fact, this is secure. And so Alex played d5. Knight f5. And this is my second step in developing initiative. Of course, when I played e5, I had to see this idea of knight f5. The point is that white creates a very strong threat of bishop f4. If white succeeds in playing this move, the queen on e5 will be trapped in the middle of the board. Accepting the second sacrifice with e takes f5 is extremely dangerous. For instance, I can play bishop f4. If the queen goes to e6, I can play rook a to e1, pinning black's pieces on the e file, as you can see here. So knight e4, and then white just captures everything on the e file, opens up the file, and black loses all of his material. The queen on a6 and later the rook on a8. Okay, since queen e6 is very bad, black has to play queen d4. This is the best he can do. But then white simply brings his rook into attack. For instance, rook f to e1. Okay, this is a check. So black should try to block it with one of his bishops. Let's have a look. If he plays, for instance, bishop e7, white can play bishop e5, queen g4. This is probably the best defense. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f3, rook takes e7 check, king f8, g takes f3, g takes f6, and then rook c7. And white obtains very strong initiative for the sacrificed material. Now we'll see another defense. If black blocks the check with bishop e6, then white captures on f5 with a simple idea of bishop takes e6. For instance, knight bd7. Black can also play bishop e7, but then white captures on e6, f takes e6, rook takes e6, and again creates a very strong pressure along the e file. Black's king is under attack, and white's initiative is extremely strong. What is important, black's knight on b8 and the rooks are still out of play, while white is attacking with all of his pieces. He just needs to bring his queen rook to e1, this way. So knight bd7, white plays rook a to d1, bringing the last piece into attack. It really helps in developing initiative. Queen c4. And then another nice tactical shot, rook takes e6. It turns out that the bishop on e6 might be even stronger than the rook, and so white sacrifices the rook in order to bring the bishop to e6. Black has to take. Bishop takes e6, and now the d5 pawn is hanging. As you can see, the e file against the king is completely open. Knight b6, trying to protect the d5 pawn. Then bishop g5. One of the important ideas in attack is removing a defender, which is the knight on f6. So white's idea is just to capture the knight and then capture the d5 pawn. So bishop e7. White captures on f6. Rook f8. Trying to pin the bishop. If black captures on f6 right away, black can simply capture on d5 with a decisive advantage. So rook f8, knight takes d5. So this way white opens both the d file for his rook and the a8 h1 diagonal for the queen. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5. This is probably the best. If white captures with the bishop, black can capture white's bishop on f6 with the following: rook takes f3. So queen takes d5, queen takes, bishop takes. Now the rook on a8 is attacked. Black has to move the rook. Bishop takes g7. Rook f5. Bishop c6 check. The king has to go to f7, then white captures on d8 and plays bishop d4. And now, as you can see, white has obtained 3 pawns for exchange, which is more than sufficient compensation. So white's position is better. Now let's get back to the game, to the position after knight f5. We have just seen e takes f5, which looks very dangerous, especially in the practical game. And so black played a safer move, queen c7. So he simply escapes with the queen from the bishop f4 idea. And here I played a little carelessly. I played bishop g5. As you can see, white leaves his knight under attack on f5, so black can capture. But then my idea was to capture black's knight on f6 and then the d5 pawn with the knight. In fact, a more accurate way to play for white would be rook e1. First pinning the e pawn, and after bishop b7, white brings the bishop to f4. This is a better diagonal for the bishop. The queen goes to d8. And now bishop takes b5 check. A takes b5, knight takes b5. So as you can see, white has just sacrificed a piece. And again, the purpose is to develop initiative. One of white's ideas is to come with the bishop, with the knight to c7. Another one is knight d6 check. So as you can see, white has a lot of threats. For instance, rook a6. Trying to cover d6, and then c4 looks very strong, trying to open up the position and delaying the check on c7. And this position is already extremely dangerous for black, despite his extra piece. Again, as you can see, a lot of pieces are still in their starting positions.